We're going to try and do a little tag team here. Good morning. It's good to see y'all. One of the interesting things about community gardens is that they really relate to so many different things that are going on in your community, whether it's economic development, community development, etc. And Ann's going to talk a little bit about some of those benefits that might attract you. If I can leave you with one message today, it's that it doesn't necessarily have to take a lot of work to get something going in your community. Community gardens account for about 3% of my time over the last few months. And fortunately, that was due to some of the expertise and the help of the Garden Project. And they've developed sort of the DNA for starting community gardens, and tapping into their resource network and their expertise is something that we found very helpful. This is what Meridian Township looked like just 2 years ago. And this is what your community can look like, and what attracts a lot of people to Meridian Township today. And this happened really quickly. Just a couple years ago, we didn't know that there were much about community gardens. Most of us didn't know that there were some existing community gardens in Meridian Township. Community gardens, just a little quick point here. There's a lot of interesting food stories going on in every community. These are some pictures I took this week at the farmer's market. This continues in the mall in the winter. This is the Purple Carrot food truck that some of you might recommend or might recognize. It's at the Capitol. Excuse me?
I said and recommend.
And recommend. Oh, I had my first meal there this week. And this is the #1 food truck in the country, rated by people. Anyway, there are a lot of interesting food stories. Community gardens are one story, but one that is really interesting, and we'll talk more a little bit in a few minutes about it. This is a community garden last year, and this is a picture I took this week. You see some of the development that has occurred in just a real short time. These are some compost bins that were constructed in the last few weeks with support from the Garden Project, and a rain barrel system that has not been hooked up yet, but it's going to be helping to irrigate the garden. And then this is another before and after of one of the 8 community gardens. A picture that was taken during the garden tour this past year. Again, there's a lot of reasons to do this, and you can probably come up with some yourself, but Ann, you want to just share a couple of those?
So again, for those of you who are not real familiar with community gardening, I think there's some real tangible benefits. One is very visible greening for your community. If you think about the garden that appeared on the White House lawn in the last couple of months, or last couple of years, excuse me, I understand San Francisco City Hall has installed gardens at the common space as you enter City Hall there. So it's, for those of you who are interested in green communities, this is very visible greening going on. It allows residents to connect with food and the natural world. It has some very powerful health benefits. Everyone eats, and so many people are interested in gardening that represent such a wide cross-section of the community. And so I would say it's a really great social justice movement as well. And a powerful tool of neighborhood, community, and personal development. So this was really exciting. A lot of these things, I kind of know them in my heart as I do this work. But we just finished our survey of this growing season, and to hear people's feedback on how has this garden impacted you. And so these are a few of the quotes that I've just received in the last couple of weeks. It helped me find more peace in my days. It gave us more family time together. It brings joy to my life. We eat more fresh fruit and veggies and meet our neighbors. We feel more connected to our community and our food supply. And we like the diversity of public green space, not just a lawn. So these are some things to think about, as well as powerful health benefits. As I was saying, I'm doing something for my health in so many ways: exercise, food, pretty things to look at. I can grow native vegetables from my home, from my country of origin, which I couldn't otherwise get at a store in the U.S. We're working with a lot of refugee and immigrant gardeners who bring this diverse background and this agricultural knowledge and are looking to connect it here in Michigan. It lowers my grocery bills and I feel more relaxed. Gardening gives me the exercise I need without special equipment or cost. No gym membership needed if you're out there shoveling and hoeing. So if your community is not already involved in this, these are some of the reasons that I would encourage you to think about it.
One of the things we started with in Meridian Township was just talking about it, and that's really the first step. There's 10 steps outlined on Ann's website that can kind of guide you through the process, but the first is to just start a conversation. And of course, listening. Finding out what's out there. We didn't realize that there were already 3 gardens in our community gardens. And just by talking with people about it, we were able to find these gardens. Then we started talking about, well, here's the 10 steps. You can get this on our website. We'll talk a little bit about those steps during a breakout section. We also looked at potential areas for gardens. Where are the parks? Where are the natural areas? That actually raised some red flags because some people don't want anything happening on the natural areas. They want to leave them pristine. And the Parks Department's pretty protective about their parks, but most of the new gardens that started were actually on private land. And that's an interesting story in economic development itself. But taking an asset approach, sort of looking at what you've already got, existing gardens, who's interested, this is a meeting that, this is not the meeting, but this is the type of meeting where we invited people to just learn a little bit about community gardens and find out. We invited the Garden Project. They gave a little presentation about how to do it, how to move forward, and sort of a cheerleading. This basically what I did was invite people to the meeting, and that's as simple as it is for you as someone who might want to start community gardens. Host a meeting, invite people, and start talking, and then hand it over to Ann. We got the. This is a local business that actually helped facilitate a meeting. This is at became the North Wind Community Garden. And then another thing you can do fairly easily is just using your existing communication tools, start spreading the word. This is a newsletter, came out in July, where we talked a little bit about some of the gardens that are, the progress that's being made. We're hoping to expand gardens even further next year. And I'd like to hear, I'm sure some of you have some interesting stories to share along that line. And then sharing information on your website and through literature. This is a publication actually from Michigan Energy Options, started from SACRA actually, distributing information about ecological landscaping and gardening through your office or through your local nonprofits. There's a lot of approaches to community gardens. One of the neat things that Ann is doing is studying and assisting multiple communities. So, you want to talk a little bit about what you...
Well, I guess I would say that one thing, for those of you who are here with municipalities, it seems like there tends to be a, if this is something you'd like to see, there's oftentimes interest in, well, let's pass an ordinance facilitating gardens or something along those lines. But I'd really encourage you to think about, have the conversations, talk with the grassroots partners, the community partners, and think about what might be lacking within your community. Is it that land access is an issue? For many Michigan communities, that's not so much of an issue. We often have a number of vacant lands, at least here within our greater Lansing area. Land access has not been a huge challenge for gardens. But things like access to other resources like compost or water can be a significant challenge. And even other ways that a municipality can be involved, like think about your recreation bulletins and parks and recreation, just by getting the word out and inviting folks to come forward. That might be a powerful tool that a municipality can offer to make it more feasible within your community. Think about those public works services, like compost if you do leaf collection, that might be the most useful way a municipality can assist community gardens in your area. So think about those tools that you might have available and how you can make those apparent to projects within your community. And again, a very asset-based approach, I would say, you know, who's already interested in this, who's already doing this, and how can you empower them to do this sort of work? If you are interested in some of the policies and ordinances out there, Public Health Law and Policy has some really great community garden resources. So this is their website. They've done they've really compiled lots of the different ordinances nationally related to community gardens and resources, and they put that together on this site here. So I would recommend that. And so we took a little bit of a narrower focus than we had been billed to do. We've really focused more on gardens. We're glad to expand the conversation back out if people are interested in a larger conversation about food networks, or we're glad to talk about some more of the specific examples on how gardens have grown in this area, in Meridian Township and the Lansing area. Again, I would just encourage you that food is part of a green community. Gardening is a great way to facilitate that process. Everyone eats. So many people are interested in gardening. This is a great movement to be a part of right now. So I would encourage you to think about ways, creative ways, that allow the enthusiasm of community partners to really participate and roll the ball forward. Excuse me. So that's some of what we'll be covering in our breakout.